Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm just approaching the Museum of Contemporary Art, and it's a glorious morning. We've got the art form over here by Lindy Lee, which is sparkling at its very best. Let's grab an image of this and we'll try and have a view through the eye. Got the Harbour Bridge up there. It's a westerly, a southwesterly or a westerly breeze coming through. It's clear. And check out this artwork, this installation. I can only just get the Opera House in the background. That's the best I can get from this sort of angle. But as you can see, you've got the pink horizon, just about to celebrate sunrise in about half an hour. But this sparkling artwork just seems to go off at this time of day. As I've said before, it's nice in the evening, it's nice during the day, but during the dark when it gets lit up, it comes alive and has a life of its own. Anyway, let's go on a walk and talk and continue our Jim's 5am Club. Let me get some different angles. But it is it's beautiful, bling bling, but there's something about it which draws me to it every single morning. Anyway, well done Lindy Lee on your artwork. It is absolutely glorious. Anyway, let's walk and talk. What a ferry kicking off, starting its daily run. I can't see which one it is. It's the supply. Supply's on its way. I don't know where the supply goes, but I'll find out with time and I'll let you know. Anyway, let's kick off with Jim's 5am Club today. And I'll take you back to 2,000 years, 2,500 years, to a quote that Aristotle voiced many years ago. And Aristotle, back in the ancient times, said, "A man who has conquered his fear is a man who is truly free." So let's talk about fear today, because it's important to understand is that we are all infected by fear, and we all have fear in our lives. But most importantly, what I learnt just recently, which blew my mind, is that fear can also infect your subconscious. So it's the fear which is in the subconscious, which is the worst enemy of all, because you're not aware of it, you're not conscious of it, you're not conscious of what's holding you back, what's scaring the living daylights out of you, day in, day out, and what's causing misery in your life. Because fear is what's holding us back from doing things, because we worry about doing things for various reasons, and the pain associated with us doing whatever we'd like to do, but we don't do because of fear. Many years ago, I went to a seminar run by Anthony Robbins, and he did touch on fear, and that's one of his key key focus areas in his seminars. And he said that fear is actually can be described as false evidence appearing real. So what he's suggesting is that fear is worse than the potential pain that we can get through the other side if we took action. So let's say that again: false evidence appearing real. So we've created and we've welcomed this fear in our mind, and this fear has taken over and has got to the point where fear can also translate into anxiety. So fear is a worry about what is happening now, what is happening tomorrow, or what may eventuate. But once that fear becomes internalized, is what I'm trying to say. Once it becomes internalized, it takes over. It takes over your life, and then translates into anxiety. And it's that anxiety which is the killer, which is the number, which leads to a life of misery, because you're living in constant fear and you just can't function. But the good news is that we've been talking about fear, we've been worrying about fear for thousands of years. But we've also got thousands of years of experience, which also inform us that the greatest conqueror of fear is action. Now, fear can't exist where there's action. And if you take bold action, then fear has no place. No place to live, no place to root down, and no place to spread its evil. So where do we lead? Where do we go from here? How do we use this for young people? Young people, it's important to understand that everybody has fear, and fear is useful in some ways because it keeps us from danger, it keeps us safe, it keeps us alive, but it gets to the point where it can overtake, it can overwhelm, and it can create a prison where you live in misery because all you do is spend your life worrying and worrying about things that may or may not happen. But as Anthony Robbins says, you've got to ask yourself the question, now, is this fear real? And a lot of commentators over the years also say that once you write down your fears and you rationalise them and you look at them in depth, very, very few fears actually materialise, and very, very few fears are as bad as what you ever thought they are, because many fears are irrational fears. They're fears which don't make sense. But as we said before, the media, our parents, our grandparents, uncles, aunts, school teachers, friends, other family members, books, you name it. You don't know where all of those fears have, or where they've come from, and at what age they've come into your life. But you often fear things which, as we said before, under the scrutiny of logic, rationale, and introspection, you realise that they are false. They don't make sense, and you wonder why they're holding you back and why they've got you living a life controlled by fear. Anyway, let's keep on walking and talking. So the greatest antidote of fear is to confront it, to take it on head on. But that'll solve your what do you call them? Your conscious fears. But we've also got these unconscious fears, which, as we said before, infect much of our lives. So how do we deal with those unconscious fears? That's the biggest challenge, I think, for all of us. But I guess the key skill is to sit down, analyse, and basically try and understand what your fears are. So an exercise that Anthony Robbins talks about is basically sitting down and writing down all the fears that you have. And then the second thing is to then ask yourself, what are these fears robbing me of? What are these fears stopping me doing? And then you can see the pain that these fears are causing you and those around you. And once you understand that they're causing you pain, then you're able to then do an assessment and a balance, saying, well, this fear has this potential pain factor, but this fear also creates other pains in my life which are causing greater issues and challenges and causing greater pain. So through neuro-linguistic programming, you're able then to work and to associate greater pain from not doing things and by obeying your fears than the pain that you'd get from following and living out those fears. One thing that I absolutely love when I was growing up was watching Lost in Space, and the episode that always comes to mind was when Dr. Smith was out on his own, I think he was, or with the robot, and this monster appears in different forms and just keeps on appearing and reappearing, and he's absolutely terrified, screaming and carrying on. But there comes a point in that scene where Dr. Smith looks at those creatures, those monsters, and he says, and he calls out, "You are not real. You are not real. Go away." And he screams at them, "Go away, you are not real. I don't believe you." And believe it or not, those monsters just disappear. And as a young kid growing up, that made a huge impression on me. Just like today, I encourage everybody to confront their fears, to look at their fears, to write them down, to try and understand their conscious fears, and to also try and delve into their unconscious fears, and to take a stand and say, enough is enough. I will not be controlled. I will not be managed, overwhelmed, and imprisoned by these fears that I've created in my mind, this false evidence appearing real, and to free yourself. As Aristotle says, the one who overcomes their fears is the one who attains absolute freedom. Anyway, I guess another thing that I did years ago is I went on I booked myself into a comedy workshop where I learnt comedy. Obviously, I'm not a comedian. I'm a little bit too serious for comedy. But one of the exercises we did in that program was to understand our fears. And you've got to understand, to be a comedian, to be on stage and to try and get people to laugh, you're going to have some challenges. So one of the exercises he did was a breaking of a board challenge. And before that, we wrote down all our fears, what our key fears were on paper. And then we wrote that fear on the board, what that fear was. So you wrote down a particular fear that you had. And then below the board, he got us to write on pieces of paper, what are the benefits that we'll get, what are the rewards that we'll achieve in our lives, what's the enjoyment that we'll have if we overcome this particular fear. So you write it on cards or paper and you put it underneath the board. And so you mount the board about a couple of feet or a half a metre above, and then below you have your rewards. And then he gets you to break the board. So you take deep breaths, you look positive and you think positive, and you push through that board with a strike of the heel of your palm. And then once you've broken that board, once you've broken through that fear, then you pick up your cards and you can see what the rewards are. So that's a metaphor for life, of breaking through your fears, through confronting your fears, through taking action, bold, strong action to overcome your fears, and then and only then you can welcome the rewards that come through the action you've taken. Anyway, let's finish up with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and most importantly, let's do whatever we can to overcome the fears that we have in our lives. And as we said, we've got both conscious and unconscious fears. So the unconscious fears are the ones that are infecting us at ways and levels that we don't even understand possible. So know very well that you've got fears holding you back, but it's up to you to do whatever you can to burst through those fears and just to take action. Just to take action, not to worry, and to know that your fears are false, they're fake, they're holding you back, but you can get over them, you can break through them through bold and consistent action, and to always ask yourself, what are these fears holding me back from? What are the pleasures in life that I'm not enjoying and savouring? And who else am I infecting with my behaviour and through the fears that I have that are controlling and imprisoning me? Take care, everybody. Have a good and beautiful Friday. Wishing you all the best for today and for the weekend. And until we chat again, yasas and bye for now.